Welcome to the Positive Sports Podcast. I'll be your host this afternoon, Ed Montana. Alongside me today, my brother from the same mother that we celebrated yesterday.
That's right.
My brother Alex. How you doing, buddy?
We don't have the same mother. You're adopted.
Look, if anyone's adopted in our house, it's got to be you. Mom was considerably older when she had you, so the timeline doesn't work as well. She had me in her prime. 2, when it comes to looks, I mean, either she spent it all on me or you're adopted.
I don't know. I think I have a little bit more of mom and dad than you do.
Really?
You have more of dad than you do of mom, but I feel like I have, a little more of both combined, yeah. I think.
Well, I've said this before.
So you're adopted. You had to think about it. You're adopted.
I've said this before, and I think this is part of it. I live like a white guy, right? And our parents are not. Our parents are Hispanic.
Right.
You live more of a Hispanic life, right?
A little, yeah.
Which I guess is why you think.
No. I think traits and appearances.
Really?
Yes.
I think you. Nah, man. If you go by looks, I look exactly like Dad.
Right. But you have more of Dad than you have of Mom. I feel like I have.
You don't look like Dad at all.
Yeah, but I have his character. I think. Yeah. I think I have more of his character than you do of Mom's.
Oh yeah, I have very little of Mom's character.
Yeah. Yeah. See, yeah, so you're adopted. I mean, this is breaking news here. We should get Mom on the horn and ask her which one of us is adopted. Yeah, just tell us.
Just go ahead and tell us. Look, we'll keep it up like we're brothers, but at the end of the day, just tell us the truth.
Just tell us Ed is adopted, so I can feel better. So what's been going on, man? What have you been up to?
I've been thinking about this, right? Like with this whole shutdown thing. And now it's starting to open up a little bit, so you do kind of have some stuff that you can do.
Right.
But right up until that point, when people come up to you and ask you, I've been on the phone with different people, work, business contacts, they call me and they go, well, how's it going? Don't you feel like an asshole if you say, it's going all right? Right? No, it's not going all right. It sucks for everyone. And then, but then you don't want to give the standard answer, right? It's going okay, all things considered.
Yeah.
Or during these crazy times.
I think everybody that I've talked to now here lately, they no longer ask, how's it going?
Well, see, but then you're an
and
asshole.
I don't ask either, so
you're an asshole for not asking.
Yeah.
I think how you're doing is gonna go by the wayside.
Yeah. Hey, they don't want to ask, that's fine.
I tell you what, things have been opening up, right? And so for the people that only watch this podcast, they will notice that I have much less hair on the top of my head and on my face. They opened up haircut places on Friday.
Wait, you went to a barber to get your hair cut?
Well, yeah, you don't...
Out of all fucking places,
you
went to a barber?
Yeah, absolutely.
Terrible.
Not my beard. I did that on my own.
Still.
But yeah, first thing in the morning, I took my son and I to go get haircuts. And I'll tell you what, honestly, I did it more for my son because he had a mop on his head that looked like, he looked like bushes.
Yeah. It looked like a mop.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah, I don't plan on going to the barber. Actually, I gave my son a haircut during the week because I'm like, we're not going to any barber anytime soon, so you might as well. If you want a fucking haircut, I'm the guy right now. You can tip me and all that stuff.
My son wouldn't let me touch his hair. He was like, no, absolutely not.
Listen, barbershops, gyms, I'm definitely not touching. Barbershops, I think I'm done with because my hair is fucking easy.
Well, your hair's short.
Yeah, exactly. It's easy, so I have no need to go to a barbershop. Gym, I'm not touching for about 2 weeks from the point they open up, unless I can, have the courage to wake up at 4:30 in the morning and make it there by 5. So unless I'm one of the first ones in the gym, I'm not going for a few weeks because they're just gonna be fucking flooded. So
it's gonna be like January 1st all over again.
Oh yeah,
the gym's open.
Right.
People are just gonna. It's like New Year's resolution time. It's going to be packed. Well,
pandemic resolution.
It's not going to be packed because they're not going to let everyone in, but then people are going to wait outside. Right? Because they're probably going to do the whole 25% thing like they've done with restaurants and whatnot.
Right. So you got to hope that, not on top of waking up early, you got to hope that you're one of the 25% in line to get in, right? Because if you're like on the very back and then there's like 3 people ahead of you and then all of a sudden that's where they stop the going in, I'll be fucking pissed.
Well, I would turn around and go back home.
I mean, that's like waking up to watch KBO baseball.
No, that's not. That is not. There's nothing wrong with that.
Look, I have finally found out that it is not worth my time because I'm sacrificing my sleep for something that I have no long-term. I'm not investing myself long-term to watch the league. My team is 4-1. I don't know what the fuck you're talking. Actually, did they win today?
My team's undefeated.
Yeah, but I mean, the cafe lattes are not,
Look, I mean, I understand why you're not invested because you didn't pick a team that is undefeated. Did I tell you that my team is undefeated? 5-0.
Yeah, but I mean, it's a 144 game season.
Hey, look, you got to go 5-0 before you can go 144-0.
Well, no, and then you got to go 6-0 and 7-0.
Well, yeah, but 5 is still before 144.
So yeah, I mean, those are things that I'm not willing to wake up early for.
I'm not a big sleep person anyway. I just don't. Sleep is overrated to me, and I just enjoy watching something that is real and it means something and it's happening right now. Like I don't know what the end is. Like I can't watch any more of the NBA finals from this past decade. I mean, I just can't do it. I know what happens. Even if I don't know what happens, I get on Wikipedia real quick and check. I mean, I don't have the patience for it. It's like I've got all of these TV shows that I can watch, right? If I want not real stuff, I can watch regular TV. I can watch Law and Order.
Yeah, but once real sports comes back, like American sports, you're not going to be watching KBO anymore. You're not going to be waking up in the morning. Even if it wasn't on at 2 o'clock in the morning, you wouldn't.
I will probably follow it throughout the season.
No way.
Put it this way.
I mean, right? Follow it how? Like follow it logging in to see how your team is doing, or follow it as in actually watching?
I will probably watch some games.
No way.
First of all,
that's hard
I love
to do.
Baseball.
Like, yeah, I do too. But I want
baseball junkie.
Yeah, but I want real baseball.
Well, it is
like
real,
real American. That I know how to pronounce their names.
I was just gonna say that.
And I know
just because you can't pronounce the name doesn't make it not real.
Like I'm not gonna buy their jerseys. The KBO's jerseys. I'm not going to buy none of them.
The Latte Giants jerseys are nice.
Yeah, it's a tough watch, man.
They resemble the San Francisco Giants jersey, but it's still nice.
And then the other team looks like the Twins jersey. Oh,
almost exactly.
Twins.
Yeah.
Is that what their name is?
LG Twins.
LG Twins, yeah. So, yeah, exactly.
So...
hard to get into, especially without fans. Even harder to get into.
I love it, and part of the reason why I'm loving it is obviously because there's nothing else to watch that's live, but also I'm enjoying seeing the differences, right, in the game. I'm enjoying. It's making me actually more appreciative of the MLB. Mm-hmm. Look, the KBO is a professional league, but they don't throw as hard. You can see the flaws in some of their swings, and in the field,
they all have the same swings.
No, they don't.
They're all swinging for the fences.
Right, but you could it's amazing how many guys you see drag their back foot on a swing, and it's like, how can you obviously
how can you watch that?
I'm a baseball junkie, and my first thought is, how can you hit a baseball when you're standing on one foot? It's hard enough to do when you're on 2 feet. These guys are flying that back leg, and that's something that you don't see very often, right? In baseball, you may see a guy get, jacked with his timing where his front foot doesn't quite get down, but you rarely see a back foot come flying away. Mm-hmm. And you see it here. And so to see them get fooled, and it's made me appreciate the MLB game even more. I watch it, and always in the back of my mind I'm thinking of the comparisons, and I'm enjoying it. Yeah. I'm enjoying it because like I said, I can't deal with the lack of live sports.
Yeah, I'm enjoying the throwback games.
Oh yeah,
a whole lot more than that shit.
Now, is that because you didn't watch them closely the first time, or is it just because it's good memory? Did you watch it closely the first time?
Yeah,
I guess that's my question.
Yeah. I watched the very first night of the KBO, but I
No. I'm not talking about the KBO. I'm talking about these throwback games.
Oh, what about them?
Did you watch the throwback games closely when they happened? So when you're watching the 2011 NBA Finals, right? Are you watching it and realizing a bunch of stuff that you had forgotten or not paid attention to, or is it just entertaining to see, high level, high intensity basketball?
A little bit of both. Like some games, I forget how they actually played out.
Right.
If I go back to I don't know, 2013 and back, I forget how the games played out, who played good, and who, but.
Right.
And I'm enjoying it's what I'm used to watching.
So it does have a little bit of reality to you, where you're watching the game and you're seeing stuff that you don't recall having seen.
Yeah, I mean it's just sports. It's sports that I can always go back and watch,
and you can pronounce all the names.
And I can pronounce all the names, and I'm invested in it, right? So I'm gonna keep watching over and over and over. Yeah. It's fucking American sports, so I'll watch it.
Speaking of American sports, the UFC came back this weekend.
Yeah,
they had a card in Florida because, of course, it would be Florida.
Mm-hmm.
And it was, I know you're not as big a UFC fan as I am, but it was stacked. I mean, it was just an incredible card from top to bottom.
Stacked. The card was stacked.
The card was
not
stacked.
There was no fans.
There were no fans.
There was no fans.
And look, I think we have to get used to the idea that there's not going to be fans. I don't think we're going to see. I've said this several times already, and there's nothing that's changing my mind at this point. We will not see fans in the stands in 2020. I think it'll be sometime in 2021 before they figure that out. But the UFC has been pushing and pushing and pushing to put on an event, and they finally got to the point of putting on an event. And I tell you, it was great to watch, A, because the fights were great fights, great matchups. But also, it's just good to see real life, so to speak, happen again, where you don't know the result and you're excited to see how it's going to go down. I think, especially with fights, right, because fights have more of those ooh and ah moments than a baseball game does, or a basketball game. So not having the fans did make it a little bit weird in that regard. But where it lost that ooh and ah feel, or the electricity of a crowd, it gained in you could hear every punch.
Yeah.
And you could hear the corner people giving advice. It almost made it more technical as a viewer watching it. And I was actually watching it with about 10 other people. So it's not like I was sitting in front of my TV at home. But it was the contrast was so different that you could hear it. It was amazing. I loved it.
So now there's going to be less socializing at gatherings like that, right? Because everybody's going to want to tune in to what the corner might be saying, right? If you're a viewer, it'll be like less, right? Because you want to tune in to see what the corner's saying, and there'll be less interaction with the people you're with.
Well,
how's that going to work in a bar?
Well, that's another one, right? Like,
shit.
I wonder what's going to happen. But look, I think we were but I think we've seen different things where people don't want to hear the announcers. They want to hear the fights. They want to watch it with their buddies. And I think now this gives people an opportunity to really hear that stuff. And, previously maybe people didn't listen to the announcers, and maybe now they'll turn the volume on, right?
Yeah, could be.
Speaking of which, a buddy of mine, you and I actually haven't talked about this, but a buddy of mine wants to do a fight companion for the fight next Saturday. So we may do that. That'll be fun. I don't know if you want to do it, but
fight what?
Fight companion. We watch it and do a podcast at the same time. We go live.
You should go for it.
You don't want to do it?
No, I mean, I watched like two. To bullshit, yeah, but I mean, I don't know. I'm not into UFC, and it just got a little dull for me. The
Which
fights
fight did you catch?
I caught I think the first two prelims, and then one on the main card, and then the main event, the very last one. But I caught that one in the fourth round. So.
Did you? So you just watched the fourth and fifth round of that one?
Yeah.
Did you enjoy the main event?
I mean, for the 2 rounds that I watched, yeah. I mean, like the fight itself.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Ferguson didn't have any shot, man. He got fucked up.
I mean, it was crazy.
So I don't know how the first 3 rounds went, but I mean, he when I caught it in the 4th round, he already looked like he was gonna
done.
Yeah, pretty much.
It was amazing how much punishment that guy took. He
So-
ended up with a broken orbital,
Fuck.
which is the bone around your eye.
Well,
Which, I mean, what a tough way to make a
I
living.
never had a broken anything, but that sounds like it hurt.
You've never broken anything?
I've never broken anything.
I broke my arm. I've broken my arm and my hand.
Never
kid.
broken anything. A few stitches here and there,
I was
but
an adult when I broke my hand.
yeah, I've had a few stitches here and there. Never broke anything, so. But it was alright. I mean, I like that there was a positive test. That was good. But
That was the only. That was
I
my
mean, it
only-
wasn't
that,
good,
That
but-
was my only gripe about the UFC because I thought they did a great job of trying to deal with the whole pandemic, right? But then I feel like they made a huge mistake in how they handled that particular situation. Right? So the backstory is the guy trains in Orlando. He showed up on Wednesday. All the fighters were required to show up on Wednesday. Some showed up a couple days early. Showed up on Wednesday. And he told them that someone in his family had tested positive. In my opinion, at that point, you test them and you turn them around and send them back. You do not leave them there at the fight hotel. Or you put them in another hotel. But you don't, right? Like, you don't. You send him back home. To me, the only right thing to do there is to send him back home. Have him self-quarantine. Because
and
you're running the risk.
And why? What's his name?
Jacare.
No,
Dana White?
Yeah, Dana White. Why is Dana White not wearing a fucking mask? Why are these like head honchos, right, of these fucking organizations, especially after knowing that guy, you have him go to the weigh-in, and you're not wearing a fucking mask, like.
And he showed up. He showed up to the weigh-ins and face-offs with mask and gloves.
Right.
But Dana White still fist bumped him, which I wouldn't have done.
I would have fucking like, dude, you stay back there.
Yeah. Well, their face-off was a wide shot.
Yeah. I don't know.
But
I didn't get that.
Part of this is, I mean, this is part of the process that we're going to have to get used to. I think it's going to be the same thing when we go back to work. Eventually, when we go back to work, let's say they open up offices to 25%, someone's not going to feel well, they're going to get tested, and they're going to have to self-quarantine.
Do you know anybody that got it?
No.
Okay.
No. I have a buddy that says he thinks he got it because he had the flu real bad in February, but he doesn't know.
Yeah.
He said he's going to order the antibody test to see if he's got the antibody, in which case then he's just going to go hog wild and go wherever the hell he wants.
Yeah.
Antibody, baby! So here's my question. If you have the antibody, can you then donate blood and give the antibody to everyone else? Right?
Oh.
And how much blood do you need from that person?
That's a Dr. Fauci question.
Yeah. Or Dr. Trump.
Dr. Trump, yes.
No, let's not have Dr. Trump say anything. No,
Yeah,
the whole
so
bleach thing.
So I guess I don't know. I guess everybody was thirsting for live sports back.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I guess you can say UFC was a success, but if I had to guess, in the back of people's mind, it's not quite what they expected. I think the fights, from what I gather, were pretty good for the most part, but I don't think it quite felt like, man, sports is back, and this is.
A sport
this is
back.
great. So.
Well, here's the thing. If you, I feel like a sport is back, and obviously it's not all sports. I feel like the UFC is back, and I think it's great. And I think this is just my own opinion. If you are expecting to feel like it's going to take more than that to be back, you're going to be disappointed. Because I think baseball is going to look like that. I think basketball is going to look like that. I think hockey's going to look like it is not going to be back.
Right, it's not going to be what we were used to, right?
It's not going to be January 2020 basketball.
And it's the fans that lead you to say that.
Absolutely. It's a markedly different experience.
I truly believe, and I feel like I'm going to feel the same way. That's going to be a big void for the viewers. It's going to be a big void. Like, the product will still be the same in a way because I don't care what anybody says. Those fighters, the players, they feed off of the fans. Without a doubt, they feed off of the fans. The viewers, me at home, I feed off of the fans.
Right. The atmosphere, right?
So that, that's going to affect the product a little bit. Not a lot. I think it's going to affect it a little bit. It may be glaring at times. It may not. But it's not going to feel the same. There's going to be a big hole there.
It's going to affect the experience much more than the product. But I think both will be affected.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
And quite frankly, I think you're going to, and obviously I don't know this yet, but you're going to feel it even more if there's football with no fans. Think about when you're watching the pregame, right? And they show that part of the pregame where the players come running out onto the field, right? And they got the cheerleaders and the pyrotechnics and stuff. They're not going to have that. Or if they have it, no one's going to give a shit because there's going to be no one in the stadium. The players probably aren't going to be as pumped. And so
I'll be honest,
I
bro.
think you're really going to be like, oh, that was kind of boring.
I'll be honest, man. These players, they don't want to play in front of no fans, man. Whatever. It may happen because, they have a obligation, right? Contracts and all that shit. I understand. But, again, in the back of their minds, they don't want to go forth with this. Well, that's definitely pulling them back from, agreeing, right? So they're going to take these negotiations.
I think that's true of everyone, right? The owners, they want the fans there. It's part of the experience. It's part of the product. There's obviously a lot of revenue involved.
The owners care about getting them to play already, right? Because they're going to get the ratings contracts and the TV stuff. So they really, plus they fucking sit in that press box, they hear the noise, the fans much less than the actual players.
Right,
do.
But there's still a significant, maybe not a significant piece, but there is a significant piece of revenue that they're going to miss out, right?
Oh well, yeah, of course.
The gate, the merchandise, the concessions. There's a lot of revenue there that they're going to miss. I don't think anyone wants to do it without fans. I think it's much more that we feel like we have to do it without fans, right?
I'm interested to see, I want to see a baseball game, a Major League Baseball game. I want to see an NBA game. I want to see a football game with no fans. I'm really interested to see if I'm going to feel the same way I do now. I'm really I'm just curious.
Me too.
I'm just curious.
Well, I'll tell you what, watching the Korean baseball games now, granted part of it is because I don't know all the players and whatnot, but there is something missing with no fans there. Now, I'll be real curious with basketball, with everything really except for baseball, the sound, right? Because in basketball, you'll be able to hear the trash talking. Right. Are they going to have to bleep out all the cursing?
Yeah, because, right?
Right?
Football and basketball, right? they curse a lot in football and basketball.
Well, yeah, and in all the sports. And in hockey, it'll be interesting because you'll hear every little... There's a lot of yammering that goes on in a hockey game as well. Not so much from a trash talk perspective until they get into a fight, but like all those skirmishes that you see around the net sometimes.
Right.
You know, they're gonna have to tell the guys to stop cursing because the FCC is gonna be freaking hitting the bleep button the whole time.
Yeah.
It is gonna be super interesting, but you know, going back to the UFC, I think it's great that they got something done. They got an event done. The fights were good. The fights were really good. The card was stacked, and I think my only complaint was the way they handled the Jacare situation. I kind of understand why they didn't turn him around, because then you're basically telling everyone else, don't tell me because I'm going to send you back, right? Like, a lot of these guys want to fight. A lot of these guys need to fight for financial reasons, right? If you do that, if you turn him around and immediately send him home, guys are going to be like, I ain't saying shit, right? I'm just going to be like, nope, everyone's good at my house.
Yeah.
So there's a bit of a catch-22 there for the UFC. You rather know than not know. But I think it could have been handled a little bit better. And look, they've got another card coming up on Wednesday. They've got another one coming up on Saturday. So I'm sure that this first card in this new world that we live in, I'm sure they learned something. And maybe they'll do something different next time, right? So it's a learning experience for them. And I'm hoping that it will be also a learning experience for the NBA and the MLB and the NHL and the NFL, right? Hopefully they share it with other, which I'm sure they are, sharing it with other organizations to figure out how to go about doing this.
Is it going to be in Florida?
Yeah, the first 3 cards are in Florida.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
man, I wish players would come out and actually talk about how they feel about this and playing while we know that there's no vaccine, with no fans, the same way they did with, the Astros, right? The baseball players were so vocal. There was like a handful of players that were pretty vocal.
An interview every day.
And so, yeah, I would love to just hear what they have to say.
Yeah.
I'm curious for that too.
I'd be super interested in that. I'd also be super interested in hearing like what their plan is. I read an article about how the UFC was handling it and some of the details behind what they were doing. Mm-hmm. And it was fascinating, the precautions that they were taking, stuff that I had not thought of. It's like I told you before when we were talking about baseball, right? You have to take all of your ideas about how this event works and throw it out the window. You have to find a way to, not find a way, but everything has to be up for debate on how you're going to change it. Mm-hmm. One of the things that I found very interesting with the UFC is they had a constant rotation of fighters and their crew coming in and out of the arena. So after the first fight, those 2 fighters and their crews are in 2 separate medical stations, right, to go, to check them out. Then there's the fighter and the 2 crews in the fight, and then the bus arrives and they've got the two fighters and their groups warming up for the next fight. Mm-hmm. As soon as this fight is over, those guys in medical are being transported back to the hotel, and then they're bringing in the next crew. They don't let those guys in until the fight's over and they go to medical and the guys from the... So they only had 3 groups of fights, or 3 fights worth of people
right
in the arena at any one time, which I thought was, like, I hadn't thought of that, right? I was like, usually they have a blue corner locker room and a red corner locker room, and they're all in there warming up and hanging out and stuff.
Yeah.
Not on Saturday. So again, it's, you're just gonna have to change the way you think of everything. It's everything is on the table. Everything is up for debate and improvement, which I think is great. So hopefully we will get more events to talk about, not just the UFC, but obviously regular old stick and ball sports, team sports that we all enjoy so much.
Yeah, definitely.
Did you, speaking of team sports, did you catch The Last Dance?
Yeah, caught the last 2 episodes, 7 and 8.
Yeah.
I kind of said this before this whole documentary aired. It's been good so far. I'm gonna watch the last 2 episodes, but for me, it's kind of like getting a little bit stale, right? There's a few pieces in there that that I haven't seen before, I haven't heard of before, right? About Michael or about the Bulls, but now it's like, I already know. Like, he was a competitor. He fucking loved to win. He pushed his teammates.
Punched his teammate in the face.
Yeah, punch Kerr in the face. Kerr has fucking 8 titles. Did you realize? I didn't realize that until the documentary that he's got 8 titles.
Yeah. Yeah. He's a hell of a
shit.
It's funny, we were watching it last night. My son asked me if he's in the Hall of Fame. I go, no, not yet. Because I think he will be eventually. When you take into account playing and coaching, I think he's going to get in. One day. But
he won't get in as a player. He might get in as a coach.
Well, whatever. He's going to get in.
Yeah, probably. But, so yeah, for me, it's kind of reached a stale point. So...
Saturation point.
Yeah. So
the part that struck me, because now they're at a point where they've made it through everything except basically the last finals, right?
Right.
They've made it through the first 3 and then the second 3. How many great players basically don't have a ring because of Michael Jordan?
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's incredible. Patrick Ewing, a good part of the reason he doesn't have a ring, Michael Jordan.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Gary Payton, Sean Kemp,
Karl Malone.
Clyde Drexler does, right? But he got his with Houston. Karl Malone, John Stockton, Reggie Miller, right?
Yeah.
It's just amazing that there are so many guys that don't have rings, and it's because they played at the same time as the greatest player who ever played the game.
And you know what else stood out? Pippen is definitely a Robin. He would never be a Batman. If you look at some of his stats while Jordan played, they were they were considerably lower points per game and all that stuff. Right. They were lower than Jordan's. And then Jordan left for 2 years, and he bitched and moaned because he wasn't going to get the rock in the last few seconds.
Which I understand his point.
In '94,
right?
You know what I mean? And then and they gave it to Kukoc. So I don't know, man.
I'll tell you speaking specifically about that. I understand his point, and I agree with him. I don't agree with not going in, but he should have fought that. I agree with him fighting that battle. Mm-hmm. I think he just picked the wrong strategy to fight it, right? Because that's not what a leader does.
Yeah.
And credit to Phil Jackson, right, who was willing to change, right? He had spent how many years with Michael Jordan, and there was no question how you were going to draw up a play, right? Who you were drawing up a play for in that situation. And now Jordan is gone, and he's willing to draw up different plays, right? This time it was for Kukoc, but I'm sure he drew up a lot for Scotty, and he was willing to change, and it just goes to show the might of Michael Jordan and also the flexibility of Phil Jackson. I think Phil Jackson, to hear his comments throughout this documentary, I think that guy doesn't get, I can't believe I'm going to say this, I don't think he gets enough credit. Yeah. Managing those egos and managing the media circus and all that stuff is a masterful job.
I agree to an extent. I disagree because the one who was really managing all that was fucking Michael Jordan. The way he went about the games, the practices, all that stuff, I think he he was managing how everybody, would respond to the whole situation, whether it was Phil calling plays or whether it was Michael Jordan, bringing the intensity to every game. Where Phil Jackson, to me, should get most of the credit is with the Lakers, because there he had to manage two Batmans. See, and it's funny now that I think about it, they split up because it was two alpha males, right? And with the Bulls, you have Pippen and Jordan. It was clear Jordan was the Batman, Pippen was the Robin, and they stayed together. And now I kind of think about it, I'm like, man, fuck, if Jordan would have never retired, they probably would have won eight in a row.
Right? Like I've wondered that.
Shit.
I've wondered that plenty of times. I kind of agree with you, but I kind of don't. I think that there's more to managing, because Michael Jordan in the documentary makes several comments about Phil telling him to tone it down, and it takes, look, Michael Jordan could not walk on that floor and win a basketball game by himself. He just couldn't. He needed four other guys, right? And he needed every single one of those guys, because if they played 5-on-4, he wouldn't win.
And I think they knew that, and I think that's what allowed the players to buy in to the whole system, which is why I kind of feel...
That's Phil. To me, that's Phil managing those egos. All those guys have their own egos.
Oh yeah, right.
So,
but having
someone's got to manage.
But having a star of Michael Jordan's caliber and his intensity, right? Like how he was tough on his teammates. I think his teammates, like you hear B.J. Armstrong talk, you hear Kerr talk, Will Perdue, Bill Wennington, like they all accepted that role, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they didn't have any egos. Like they didn't, I don't know. I can't put it into words, but I feel like
I think that's exactly the point. They played like they didn't have egos, but the fact of the matter is they all had egos, just to a different degree, right? I think Horace Grant had more of an ego than
he definitely did.
Than Bill Wennington, but they all had some kind of ego. They were all professionals in their own way, and Phil had to manage Michael Jordan, right? Like remember when they talk about Dennis Rodman wanting to go to Vegas?
Right.
Now, most NBA coaches, if a guy wants to go to Vegas and comes into his office and he says he needs a vacation, I need to go to Vegas, blow off some steam for a few days, what do? They have a conversation, right? Me, coach, you, player.
Right.
Phil Jackson called Michael Jordan in to try to get it all to work, right? To
see, so Phil Jackson didn't know how to manage Dennis Rodman. He needed some backup.
Yeah. But he was smart enough to not alienate Rodman and get Jordan to buy in with the idea of him going to Vegas, knowing full well that if Rodman reneged, he could get Jordan to bring him back. And he didn't have to do it. He didn't have to be the bad guy. Because on a team, you know this, you've played team sports, your teammates, you feel more accountability to your teammates than you do to the coach or to the fans, right? Well, you didn't have fans. I had fans. So I think that, again, that's all knowing how to manage all of those egos. It's phenomenal to me to watch that part of it as well, because it had to be extremely difficult. It had to be extremely difficult. Like you see all those clips of Michael Jordan sitting in that room by himself. He wasn't even in the locker room with the teammates. You know what I mean? At times. And that kind of special treatment, that takes some management from the head coach or a manager in baseball, whatever you want to call it. Just fascinating. To me, fascinating stuff. I don't get tired of watching it. What was the other thing I was going to bring up? The other thing that struck me a lot was his first retirement, right? I had just graduated college when he retired. So I graduated college and was in the work world, and he went on to win that third championship, and his father passed away, and or his father was killed, and then, then he retires. And I remember back then, like I vividly remember this, and I remembered it even more seeing it play out last night. I was like, this dude just has to be sick and tired of this shit, right? Like, here he lost his dad, and it wasn't just a little bit of speculation that his gambling had something to do with it. There were articles, like op-ed pieces written in the New York Times, basically accusing him of being at fault, that his gambling problem or whatever, his gambling debts got him killed. And it was like, and I remember when he retired, I thought to myself, good, because that's got to get annoying. And he was the most recognizable face on the planet at the time. Absolutely the most recognizable person on the planet.
He retired, but he didn't retire because he was still in the news. I mean, he went and played another sport that had high visibility.
Basketball.
Right, but he didn't retire from the limelight, from the being in the media and having to answer to reporters every day. So, the comments from Terry Francona were pretty interesting too.
Yeah.
Had he stayed, right, he would have made the major
I think he would have
leagues.
made it. I think he would have made it eventually. They said...
I mean, I can't remember anybody in the outfield from that White Sox team. I don't know.
The comment that he made that I found interesting was he said, no doubt if he had 1,500 more at-bats, he would have made it. So if you do the math, he was 30 at the time. 1,500 at-bats is roughly 3 years. So he would have been 33. I mean, things kind of would have had to line up just right for him. But he could have made it to the major leagues at 33. You don't hear very many guys making it to the MLB for the first time at 33. But maybe. Yeah. And certainly from a marketing perspective, it would have been it would have been a huge win for the White Sox.
That alone would have gotten him up to the show. So
yeah. And the other thing I found interesting is, of course, the whole conspiracy theory. Did Stern, in fact, suspend him for 18 months? And
he shut it down.
You know me, I'm not a conspiracy guy at all, because I think it's a lot more difficult to keep stuff like this under wraps, especially for 20 some odd years now. It's much more difficult to keep stuff under wraps than people think.
Well, of course Stern's not going to say, even if he did. But guess what? If it was just between Stern and Jordan, guess what? Fucking Stern is dead. I mean, it definitely ain't getting out.
But again, there's no way to keep it just between the two of them. Someone has to find out somehow, because he's got to get paid, because the NBA has to cover their ass.
He still got paid during those years, they said.
Yeah, I thought that was incredible. The NBA's got to cover their ass in case of a lawsuit.
So there you go.
Involved.
David Stern said, "Hey, I'll still pay your salary. Just keep your mouth shut, Jordan, and we'll keep this under wraps."
Well, see, if that was the case, he would have had to get the Bulls involved. I think it's damn near impossible for it to be just two people. And if it's anything more than two people, even two people, it's almost damn near impossible for someone not to leak something.
I don't know, man.
It's crazy. Do you think Michael Jordan would be looked on as favorably today as he was back then? And the angle I'm going for here is, with the way social media is, where everyone has a camera, right? Everyone has a camera in their hand. A video camera, no less, right? Social media, you got Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all that stuff. Do you think he would be the same? Do you think he would be viewed the same way today as he was 25 years ago?
Would he be viewed from who?
Just in general.
Yeah. There'd be more from him. We would be able to see more from him.
Do you think we would think he was more of a dick or less of a dick?
Probably the same.
Think so?
Yeah.
I wonder, because I think,
I don't know. When Kobe was around, I mean, he was a dick to his teammates, and social media was around then, and I don't remember seeing a lot of stuff about him out there, to be honest.
Know, you know what I thought about as they were talking about that? I was thinking about LeBron James and Taco Tuesday, right?
Mm-hmm.
He got on this kick for a while doing Taco Tuesday on Twitter and all that stuff. And we didn't get to see any of the fun stuff from Michael Jordan. All we see or all we hear is how much of a dick he was to his teammates. But I wonder if with social media, with everyone having a camera phone, if we wouldn't get more of the, Michael Jordan talking to kids or other people, maybe interacting with his family and things like that.
No.
You don't think so?
No, I don't think so. I think Jordan is a very private person, and he is really focused on him. That's not to say that he doesn't care about others and organizations that he's involved with, because he's involved with plenty of organizations in Charlotte, I believe. Mm-hmm. But he is very much to himself, and I think that competitive tickle that he has for every little thing makes him like that. So it alienates everybody else. That's why his circle is so tight, I believe. Yeah. Which is a good possibility that his circle is keeping everything on the rack. But no. I think I don't think social media would affect him, and I don't think.
You don't think he would be more open?
No, I don't think so. Well, I mean, but after watching like the first 2 episodes, I mean, the guy is fucking. There's nobody that's gonna tackle competition the way he has. I mean, I haven't seen it, and it's been 25 years since he.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So I just not gonna fucking see it. It's damn near speechless of how this guy was just so hungry to win. I mean, everybody wants to win. He just went about it a whole different way, and
he took it to a different level.
And he didn't care if he pissed off his teammates. Like he says, if I wanted to play that way, if you didn't want to play with that way, then don't play that way. But this is how
I found it interesting that I think if I recall correctly, he's only gotten emotional in the documentary twice.
Right.
Once talking about his dad, which I understand, and 2, he got emotional when he made that comment, when they talked about the whole competitiveness and teammates and how he plays. And he got emotional at the thought of, I'm being criticized for playing the game hard. And he had to bite down for a bit. He said, I want to play that way. And if you don't want to play that way, don't play that way. Right. And it almost brought him to tears to think that other people don't want to play that way. That's how singularly focused he is. And
like, how could anyone else
not want to play that way?
Right, in competition sports, right, where you're getting paid top dollar, where it's it's the whole goal is to win a championship, right, in whatever sport. And I mean, you don't want to play that way.
It's just it's almost like you're wrong, right? Like, it's almost like you're the weirdo.
Right.
No, Michael, you're the weirdo in a good way, but you're the weirdo.
Michael Jordan must have applied somewhere to be someone's hitman, because that little video of him after getting beat by B.J. Armstrong in Game 1 against Charlotte, the guy's sitting there in the locker room, cool as can be, cigar in his mouth, and a fucking baseball bat. Michael Jordan must have been, or must wanted to be, a hitman, because he's
like, I'm going to take him out.
Yeah, and that's exactly what he did, right?
He did. It's crazy.
But the one thing that I will say, and I thought about this after like the first 2 episodes or like the 3rd episode, the one thing missing from this documentary is Jerry Krause.
Well, he's dead.
I know. I would have loved to hear him talk about this.
I would love to hear that too,
and what he would have to say.
I wonder if he would walk back some of his comments about
definitely
right. He always touted the organization above the players and above Phil Jackson. He touted the entire organization, which he gets a lot of heat for it, but in a way, like, he's right. Like, right, it's a team sport, so tout the organization. He touted the entire team, right? Even the people who didn't step out onto the court.
Yeah.
And so I don't have a great problem with his comments.
Well, we have to understand also he's looking at it from a different perspective, right?
He wants to make his stripes too, right?
Right. So, but yeah, I wonder if, looking back, right, doing this in 2020 for him, if he would have been like, man, I regret saying this, or if I would have taken, or I would have approached it a little differently, or I would have intervened, because I doubt he intervened. Reinsdorf probably did, but if he would have went in and tried to convince Michael not to retire, right?
Right. Like, and I wonder if we won't see that next week when they do episodes 9 and 10 and they get through the entire three-peat, the second three-peat. Right. I wonder if at that point we won't see some clips of Jerry Reinsdorf talking about, his thoughts about Jordan retiring the second time and losing Phil Jackson and, trading Scottie Pippen and all that stuff. I wonder if he will not have, they'll have some clips from, say, 2004, right? Where he talks about the past before he passed away. It'll be interesting. Very
Sucks that it's ending, but they have a McGuire and Sosa documentary. Is that coming out? Long Balls?
I think I heard something about that.
That's great. And then ESPN is also showing the E60 on Roy Halladay. That I want to watch too.
That one I almost don't want to watch.
That one I almost do want to watch.
I almost don't, because obviously we found out a lot about what was in his system when he passed away and all this other stuff. I think he had issues.
Oh yeah.
And I don't, and unfortunately we're not going to get to hear his side of it, right? We're not going to get to hear what he went through. I guess maybe some older clips, or even how he's doing, like, in the years since, right? Like, maybe if that plane crash didn't kill him, maybe if he had just had a scare, maybe his life would be different, right? Don't get me wrong, I'll watch it, but
it'll be so interesting.
Don't want to see it.
It'll be so interesting because me personally, I did not know that he had a substance abuse problem, and we're definitely going to hear a lot from the wife, who obviously, right, is, other than coming from Roy Halladay's mouth, his wife is going to, say
probably be Roy Halladay.
Yeah, exactly. So this is going to be fucking great. I can't wait to watch it.
The Sosa McGuire one's going to be interesting too.
I want to see that too. Absolutely. I don't know if that's going to be a documentary or just like a one episode, but I hope it's I want to see all the way from Black Sosa to White Sosa.
I was just going to say, are we even going to recognize Sosa?
In the early parts of the doc we will.
You know how on the Last Dance they have these clips of Michael Jordan doing the interview that is obviously very recent, right?
Right.
I wonder if they're going to have those clips with Sammy Sosa, and we're going to be like, who the hell is that guy, and why does he keep talking about Sammy Sosa?
Well, you know what they're going to have to do? They're going to have to fucking, mess with the filter on the camera so we can get the dark version of Sosa and be like, oh yeah, that's Sammy.
They're going to make a mistake and little stars are going to come out.
I mean,
one of those Snapchat,
yeah.
Or when he opens his mouth like the cat tongue, the dog tongue.
God, I hope not.
Oh shit, wrong filter.
But yeah, I'll definitely watch that one too. Can't wait.
Man.
Can't wait, man.
Yeah, I love documents.
What kind of documents?
I love documentaries. I think they're awesome. I actually just finished watching Waco on Netflix.
Waco?
Yeah, about David Koresh and the Branch Davidians.
I don't know who the fuck they are. I'm guessing from Texas.
That was in the early 90s. They had this guy who's kind of a religious... I don't want to call him a cult leader because I think it's unfair to call other people... Basically, no one ever refers to their own religion as a cult, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
So, obviously, he had his religious beliefs, and so I don't think it's respectful to call him a cult leader. But he was a religious leader, and eventually the ATF and the FBI went in there, and several people died. There was a siege and all that. It was very, very interesting, very good. It's a piece of history. It's quite interesting too because it's told from the perspective of a latecomer to the Branch Davidians and an FBI negotiator. And the FBI negotiator was very didn't want anyone to die. Like, he always believed that there was a way to negotiate these situations through so that no one would die. And so, obviously, those two people, certainly the person that was a Branch Davidian, it has a little bit of a slant in favor of David Koresh, which over the years we have not heard. And it makes it very, very interesting. I recommend it highly if you have 6 hours to spend on it.
6 hours.
Well, it's a 6-part documentary.
Oh, okay.
All right, so look, Sunday, next Sunday's the last 2 episodes of The Last Dance. So the following Sunday,
throwbacks.
Go back and watch Waco, and you can watch it in 3 Sundays.
Yeah, there you go.
The other thing that I found interesting about Michael Jordan was how he made challenges in his head, right? I mean, he just took whatever and said,
The guy's a liar.
"Really?" He's like, "Really, George Karl? You're not going to say hi to me? We both bleed North Carolina blue, and you're not going to say hi to me in a restaurant? That's it. I'm going to torch you guys."
That's amazing.
I mean,
Hey, fucking, he took it to the extreme.
and you know what? But it works. I mean, I've done it.
For him, it
right?
works.
I've done it. I've done it.
Yeah.
I mean, I did it. I did it with something that was very, very important to me.
Right.
Someone made one comment to me, and I said, "Oh yeah." Actually, I can think of 2 times distinctly that I've done it.
Right.
Where someone said something to me, and I went, "Oh yeah, watch me." And so it works.
Yeah.
When you take that slight, it gives you that motivation.
Oh, yeah.
We always hear about bulletin board material. It didn't have to make it to the bulletin board for Mike. Mike just, he would, I mean, and you're right, sometimes he would make it up, right? The
That's
whole
crazy.
thing with the guy from the Bullets.
Yeah?
A guy from the Bullets. The Bullets.
The Bullets.
Jeez.
I wish they would bring back the Bullets. That was a cool logo with the 2 hands.
Yeah, the Wiz. Now they're the Wiz.
The Wiz.
Yeah, not good.
So that's it, man.
You got anything else?
Nah,
On
man.
The Last Dance?
I'm
On the UFC, on sports, on life, anything you'd like to share with us?
There's nothing left, man. Just nothing left.
Stay safe.
Yeah.
You got a shout out?
Nah, man, no shout out.
My shout out goes to Justin Gaethje, the guy who won the main event. That was a masterful performance. He's usually the kind of guy that just blasts forward and swings for the fences. He's always said, "I don't expect any of my fights to go to a decision. I will either knock you out or you will knock me out, but it'll be done before it gets to the judges," which is kind of crazy. And the part that I find really cool is that he is completely comfortable with that. Mm-hmm. He obviously thinks he's going to win, but he's completely comfortable with the other side of that. Like, he's been stopped twice, and he's completely comfortable with it. When he was undefeated, he said, "Someday someone's going to get me." So, he went, but he was very tactical on Saturday and ended up winning the interim lightweight championship for the UFC. Now he gets a date with what some people call the greatest lightweight ever in Khabib Nurmagomedov, and that should be a banging fight as well. So, share your thoughts with us. If you want to email the show, you can do that, positivesports10@gmail.com. If you want to get a hold of Alex over here, how do they do that?
On Twitter at Brooklyn Gaucho 1.
And if you want to get a hold of me, you can do so on Twitter as well, at eMontana21. And I guess we've come to the end of another wonderful episode of the Positive Sports Podcast. Be on the lookout, because I think I will definitely be doing a UFC podcast with a buddy of mine who's also a big UFC fan and poker player. And maybe we'll make Alex come and he can tell us other stuff instead of talking about fights the whole time. Right? You got to have other stuff, right?
Yeah.
When you're watching fights with your buddies, you don't just talk about fights. You talk about all kinds of stuff. So
that's right.
Maybe we'll get you to come along for that. As always, folks, ignore the negativity. Be the positivity.
Peace.